Hello there and welcome to this vlog of December 2024, and in today's video I'm just going to give a cheeky little review of the McCarron's Armoured Cavalry Assault Lance, which to my delight this morning I went onto to this site, which is the Alchemist Workshops, which are like my local hobby UK store. Not local in a geographical sense, they're in Cheshire, but I use them a lot. And they're very good, and service is excellent, and you should use them if you are in the UK. They get a lot of BattleTech stuff as well, which is obviously great for me. I thought though that this pack was going to be exclusive to Barnes & Noble for some reason, but it turns out it isn't, because we're getting them in standard retail. You can see they've got 11 left in stock. They did have 12 this morning, but guess who bought one? There's other things on there as well at the moment. I think they've got the second Star League. In fact, I know they've got it because I bought that as well. All due out in Q4 2024. I've kind of stopped trying to work out what that means. I suppose if it's like financial year, then it's going to be anywhere up to March, April. I'd imagine that these will be on the slow boat from China now or wherever. So they'll probably get there in like January, February. But obviously, as soon as I saw it was available, I went and got it because I've got all the packs. So it's a bit of a thing that I've got now, that I just go and get everything that comes out because I'm a BattleTech stan, as you would expect. I go and do things like that. So what I'm going to do, we're just going to have a little discussion on whether this pack is worth it, what mechs you get, what kind of variants of the mechs that you get, and is this kind of keeping to standard format with the other mercenary box sets that they have done. And to answer that last question first, yes, it is very much an atypical Mercenaries Force set. You've got in there a brand new mech, you have got a new variant of a mech, and you've got a couple of reposed mechs. That's kind of standard as how they've done things. So the new variant of the mech is the Awesome, the new mech is the Tianzong, and then we've got the Black Knight and the Star Slayer there. That are mechs that you can already get. But these are reposed. You can see there the Star Slayer has got that little jump plume, which important to note, if you've never bought these before, you can take that off and just stand it regularly on the hex if you want to do that. I do that because I use 3D terrain, and if you put it on the plume, you get like a real disadvantage to line of sight. So yeah, not doing that. You can work around that, but unless I was doing it as some kind of like display piece, no, I'm just going to put it on the regular hex. So what I'm going to do is then we'll deal with the two reposes first, which is the Black Knight and the Star. So and then I've got the flex sheet open actually, so we'll have a look at the variants of the Awesome and the Tianzong there. Tianzong as well is not a mech that I'm very familiar with because it's a Dark Age mech, and I think you all know I don't really know much about the Dark Age, but got the spec up, and I'll give it a bit of an assessment when we get into the flex app. In terms of these two reposes, not much to say. I mean, the Black Knight one looks quite similar to the pose that the Black Knight had, or at least that's the same bearing. Its feet or its legs might be slightly different, but it doesn't look a million miles away from that. Slightly odd choice to put the Black Knight in here. I don't know if there's some kind of thematic tie-in to McCarron's. There certainly is with the Star Slayer. That's piloted by Faith. Something or other. So yeah, that's clearly that character, and as well the Star Slayer is a mech that you associate with like the Capellans, although the Fed Sons I think get access to them as well. So the Star Slayer thematically makes sense. Black Knight, not sure. It's a very crunchy lance this though. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of like PPCs on show, there's some Gauss rifles, lots of energy weapons, and not much like explosive ammo apart from, I think the Star Slayer is an SRM4 if I remember rightly, but apart from that it's just a energy weapon party, this lance, so quite crunchy. McCarron's as well are very, very popular. I've noticed that over the last few years they have got a lot of traction, and I think if I were them I'd start to kind of develop their storyline now, because people do seem to buy into them. They do seem to be like one of the more popular mercenary outfits. To me, they will always be the bad guy because they're like the Capellans' go-to mercenary force. Eventually, they're actually getting folded back into Capellan forces. So always the bad guy for me, because I play and love the Capellan March, which is like the Fedcom's territory. So all those forces there hate the Cappies, and especially McCarron's. So for me, they are like the quintessential bad guy, but that's fine. You always need an antagonist. So they play that role for me very well. So I'm very keen to get this, was keen to get this pack. They've got as well. You can see the art. You can't really make it out, but the art behind it is one of the big art pieces they were using during the Kickstarter. That is actually a picture of the McCarron's armoured. You can tell because they've got like scars or like tallies under their eyes, which denote how many kills they've got. Kind of tells you everything you need to know about McCarron's right there. I think I do collect a pretty sizable force of McCarron's, but I think, just going from memory here, it's either the second or the first battalion. It could be division. I don't know what the force composition and size is, but they are like the really evil ones, right? They're the ones that if there are war crimes afoot, it's them, and they're kind of orange and red. Presuming that's like the first or the second, whatever, they might be a bit more honourable, but the ones that I play with are completely dishonourable, which is how I like it for my Capellan forces. So yeah, again, really not much to say. The story here really is the awesome and the Tian Zong. So if you like the way that the Starslayer and the Black Knight are positioned, wonderful. I'm pretty passive on it. Slightly odd choice as well, I think, for the Starslayer to be in there because it's just been released in the new Mercenaries box set. So you're going to have a plethora of Starslayers, which is no bad thing because more Starslayers is more good. Starslayer's great mech, really fun mech, but it looks great as well. It's got that like armadillo casing on its central chest, which I absolutely love. So it's not a bad thing. I'm not criticising it. I just think it's a slightly odd commercial commercial decision to some respects because they're going to be mechs that are floating around. So you could have got maybe a different mech in there that was not in another pack, but whatever. I'm not complaining about that choice. Always room for Starslayers. Let us though have a look at this awesome because you can see here. This awesome has got 4 big guns on there, which is unusual because the regular awesome only has 3 PPCs. This one, though, has 4, and it is the 9Q variant, I believe. I couldn't find another awesome variant that had 4 big guns on there, so I'm going to assume it's this one. Timings would be right as well because a lot of these force packs are taken between like the clan invasion and like the jihad, so there's like lots of variants of mechs in there where you get them across like that 3050s 3060s era. In terms of its like crunchability, I think this awesome is pretty incredible. Like every awesome, it's got the same kind of facets, so it's just like a giant walking well armoured turret with big guns on there. It's why it's so popular. It's ubiquitous as well, so you find it in most like Inner forces. Maybe not this particular variant, but certainly awesomes as a rule in general. It's kind of an upgrade from the initial awesome because it has double heat sinks on there as opposed to single. If you've kind of looked into how the regular awesome or the standard awesome is comprised, it's just full to the brim with single heat sinks, which only take up 1 slot, but they still weigh 1 ton. So with this, you get, even though it takes up 3 slots, you get, double the effectiveness for 1 ton of a heat sink. So that's why you're able to then fit that extra PPC on there. I think everything else is standard. So standard internal structure, standard armor, general regular fusion engine. So it literally is just like, just put it onto double heat sinks and get another PPC in there. And knowing quite a few awesome players, they would like that because more guns is more awesome. That's what they like. This is a mech for people that don't like to mess around. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It does a solid job for you. It's survivable. It's pretty heat neutral. I mean, ignore the S laser, right? Because you ain't ever going to use that with this bad boy. But it's basically a +2 on the heat scale. So if you alpha strike with it, you're just doing +2 heat. Got a Guardian ECM as well, which is really quite nice. So yeah, big fan of that. Love that there's another awesome as well knocking around because the original awesome fought in the new plastics was in the original game of Armoured Combat. I have got dozens of them because I've gone and bought them as singular units, which isn't cheap, but I've gone and done it because I love it and I love the awesome. But it's nice just to get it in another pack, and again, you can never. There are certain mechs you can never have enough of. Awesome's one of them. Thunderbolt's another. Locusts, and a lot of those mechs. In fact, all those 3 that I just listed there are all in a game of Armoured Combat. As time's going on, though, they're starting to different variants are starting to pop up in other sets. For instance, like the catapult, you get like the K2 catapult in the Grade F Legion box set. So that's great. And it was a big critique that I had of it initially because I want more T-bolts, I want more awesomes, but I'm not keen on buying a game of Armoured Combat 50 times. So yeah, although you will find stores that sell things separately, although they shouldn't, but they do. So there you are. So let's have a look at this Tian Zong then. We'll do it. Have a look at his upper section first on the Flex app. Quick advert for the Flex app. It's wonderful. Check it out. I only use it for tabletop play. It's a phenomenal feature of BattleTech. Okay, so well armoured, it's 75 tonner, so it's on the heavier side of heavy. Dark Age era mech 3090. Armour's good, very solid. It's very much a command mech. It's got a Guardian, an Angel ECM in there, which I believe is like the best ECM, right, that the Innisphere have. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the one that contains like the Beagle Probe and the Guardian ECM? It's kind of I can't remember. I could be wrong there. It might just have a feature that the others don't have. It's certainly the good one anyway. So very much of the command ilk. You also need an ECM in this mech because it needs an ECM to run stealth armor. Stealth armor, and I'm going to say this now, I should have checked it before I did the video, but I think stealth armor from memory is pretty great. As long as you've got it turned on, it does 10 heat per turn, which isn't bad in the right mech, and this is actually a mech where you can use it effectively at all times. But you then get the advantage of, I think, taking a +1 modifier to hit at medium range and a +1, this is to hit you, and a +2 at long range. So anything hitting you at long range, it basically gives your opponent like a +6 at long, which is brutal. So yeah, when you're piping out like Gauss rifles from afar with the stealth armor working, that's great. And you can really just ignore the the ERM lasers because they're relatively short range. You don't want to get that close to the opposition, which we'll talk about in a second with this mech. But it's a solid variant to some extent, but it has a major flaw. So let's talk about Gauss rifle placement. So this machine has got 2 Gauss rifles, regular old Gauss rifles, on both torsos. This is a horrific design decision. They really should have been in the arms. Why is this a heinous design decision, some of you may ask, and a lot of you will know. The Gauss rifle, unlike most other weaponry, it actually does internal damage to you, like just in exactly the same way that ammo does if it gets exploded. So if it takes 1 crit, a regular Gauss rifle does 20 points of damage to your internals. It only has 16 points of internal, ergo boom, destroyed if you take a crit on the Gauss rifle, of which you have about a 55 to 60% chance of doing if you get critted because it takes up so much room across the side torso. Even worse, it's got an XL engine in there. So if the XL engine takes 3 hits, which obviously it has just done in this situation because it's half of it, a third of it's been destroyed, and it's got 9 points. Then your mech is dead, as it says there, destroyed. So absolutely, positively brutal, horrifying decision making. Really should have been in the arms. There is one thing I will say though in this mech's favour, that because of the stealth armour and because you are going to be hitting from range, if you play it correctly, I actually think you could mitigate a lot of the issues with that placement just by not getting close to the action. You do have to be very careful though with this mech because it's got no jump jets, and jump jets on this would be very preferable, because if you were like sat on a hill and something was coming up close to you, you could just jump backwards down the hill, get out of its like vicinity. You can't do that with this mech because it can only walk and run, and it's very average for speed as well at a 4.6. So I'm looking at this mech and being like, that is a real problem. I'd really kind of struggle to justify whatever battle value this is, and it's probably quite expensive because of the Angel ECM, the Gauss rifles, etc. In fact, let's have a cheeky look at that while we are speaking here. Let me just go on to Sana and we'll have a look. How do we spell this guy? Tian Zong. See what his battle value is. Yeah, 2,167, and there's no C-bill cost there, but it won't be cheap. Yeah, really, really, really struggling to see how you'd use this at that battle value. It's a it's a poor option. I did have a look around at some of the other variants though, and they're very, very similar. So I found this variant, which is 6 years after the standard variant. This is another terrible variant. Terrible because you need the heat management on there because you need to run the stealth armor, and it's got ERL lasers on there, which you're never going to use because that generates 24 heat, of which you get 24 heat sinks. So you're going to burn up and die if you use that alongside your stealth armor. So let's rule that one right out. Plus, it's got a light Gauss rifle on there, but so does the N3. This is basically an Ilkhan-esque era mech. This has got, again... Oh, sorry, no. This doesn't have light Gauss rifles. So let's talk about these light Gauss rifles. You might think, actually, is that more useful because it won't do as much damage if it gets critted? No, because a light Gauss rifle going crit does 16 points of damage. So it doesn't do 20, but it does 16, and you only have 16 points of structure. So, good night, Vienna. You are dead with a light Gauss rifle as well, completely useless. The final version, then, is this one. This has got the light PPCs on there. I think this would actually be my preferred version, just because you could at least like do some better damage ratio. I mean, you could actually do with 2 Gauss rifles and 2 light PPCs. That's 40 points of potential damage at distance, which is nice. Running with the stealth armor as well. Again, yeah, pretty good that. I just wish that they'd put just give it 2 Gauss rifles and just put jump jets on there. That version I would actually probably be quite interested in. But this kind of gives you a bit of over gunnery because you just don't need the double heat sinks. Like if anything gets too close to you, you can at least say, like if a light mech tries to kind of get out of position and give you rear shots or whatever to kind of get one of those sweet crits on the Gauss rifle, it's going to have to come up a potential of 40 damage. So the only way that I can see this mech realistically working is if you put a very, very good mech warrior in there, probably like your force commander who's got very, very good gunnery skill, who can hit from afar and just keep them right at the back. Again, you kind of miss out on the Angel ECM there a little bit though and its effects, so a lot of wasted tonnage here, not going to lie. Let's have a look at him. I mean, he basically just looks like a Warhammer, but he's a very stupid Warhammer because he's put his big guns that blow up on his torso, as we've talked about. So I'd much have preferred this if the Gauss rifles were in the arm, but hey-ho. Still though, some of the quirkier, weirder mechs are just as interesting, if not more interesting, than the kind of crunchy good ones. So I would say categorically that this is a winner-winner, chicken dinner, when it comes to like Mercenaries Force packs. Regardless of the bad placement of Gauss rifles, it's still very crunchy. I still wouldn't particularly like to go up against it. There's a hell of a lot of PPC action there and M-laser spams and all kinds of stuff. Plus, if you do get that Tian Zong chap behind you and he's kind of firing off successfully with his Gauss rifles, he's going to give your opposition something to think about. So very much worth it. I think as well, if you get it at a discount like I've been able to do through the wonderful Alchemist Workshop here, coming in at £26.40, which is about 30 bucks, maybe just a bit over. Yeah, completely fine. Love the artwork as well. This box is absolutely gorgeous. So well worth getting, well worth checking out. In terms of other Battletech stuff then, you see there's a couple of things on the site at the moment. So they've also got that second Star League Assault Lance coming in. That's the one with Prometheus, who is the direwolf for Victor Steiner Davian. So I bought them both this morning, which I was very happy about. I always knew I was going to get this one, but this one is the McCarron's is a nice surprise. Anyway, just a short one there. Just wanted to do a quick video and before Christmas, and to wish you all a happy holiday. Hope you all have a good one. I'll be back, no doubt, in the new year, hopefully refreshed. Still not got Hatch's Kickstarter, but when that does arrive, I will give quite a bit of that away. So keep an eye out for that as well, probably in the new year. Anyway, I will leave it there. I will thank you very much for watching. I will wish you a very happy holidays, and I will hopefully catch you again next time.